So welcome, our brilliant colleague Kanika. We so appreciate your consistent leadership and solidarity. And as always at SETC, we begin all things by giving thanks to the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Kanika, can you please share a bit about your background and your remarkable work with our listeners and our viewers?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Kanika Wortley, and I'm an associate professor and Canada Research Chair in Systemic Racism, Technology, and the Criminal Justice System. So what that entails is that my work looks at the intersection of race, racism, and the criminal justice system. And I particularly center the experiences of Black and Indigenous voices to understand, one, their experiences when they interact with anyone within the justice system. And that, might not necessarily mean that they're involved in the justice system, but we certainly understand that there's a lot of stereotypes associated with Blackness and indigeneity, and gross stereotypes and perceptions that are linked to criminality. So how that influences their experiences even within other social institutions. Also look at experiences of victimization. So those who have experienced victimization, how they encounter and experience the justice system to assist with those experiences, and looking at the disparities, how experiences may differ from our non-racialized counterparts, and truly understanding how those experiences influence our trajectory, and also our understanding and perceptions of the social environment around us.
Thank you so much for that incredible context and your background, but more importantly, the remarkable work that you're doing on behalf of so many. So once again, let's applaud your leadership. So my next question is, what's inspiring you right now? What has you curious, or what's keeping you up at night?
Well, certainly racial inequality keeps me up at night, and it's unfortunate that this is a fight that we have to continue to fight. And definitely the work that I do is on the shoulders of so many. And it was such a blessing to start this with understanding our ancestors, because they are very much a part of this fight and influence me a great deal. I've always, been driven by addressing inequality, and want an equitable world. I really am always truly hopeful that this is a possibility. So by continuously identifying the barriers to that equity is something that I am very much driven by. I want and hope for a better world, also for our future generations, and therefore feel that as a researcher, it is my role to highlight kind of those experiences and disparities to ensure, and hope that they don't happen again. So that is what a fair and equitable world is, what continues to drive my work and what I feel is my purpose.
That's beautiful. I hope one day you're running for office. One of my elders always said, politics is too important to leave to politicians.
Yeah, right.
So I just feel like when I meet brilliant policy minds and researchers like yourself, I was like, I hope one day I see their name on a ballot somewhere. So yes, no, I appreciate your and your leadership.
We'll put it out into the world. I appreciate that.
Indeed, family, indeed. So my next question is, what are some of the challenges and barriers you and your colleagues are working on to overcome?
Certainly. When you speak to racial justice, it is a very emotional topic for all that are involved, not just those who are racialized, but those who are non-racialized. And there are folks that might be refused to see it, folks who wish to keep the status quo. And then we also have folks who truly believe that, the system is working the way that it should and should continue in its trajectory. So that, of course, is what impacts my work, and is deeply challenging, and for my colleagues and those who, my team, and those who work with me as well. So it quite often is getting past that, and recognizing that it also is noise, and it can be used as a barrier to mitigate the work that you're doing, but to get past that and recognize that there are folks that this work significantly impacts. This work will help those who understand their experiences and within this system, But also that this work can lead to a better understanding for those who are open to hearing more about it and to have a true and deep understanding of, fellow citizens. We're all people, we're all humans. So to understand those who are marginalized, and there are genuinely folks who are allies and want to learn more, so that even though there are the challenges and the folks who don't want to hear it or want to keep the status quo, there are also the ones that want to learn more. And also that is a driver as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think years ago when I was doing this work, there was always a question of why. Why is this important? Why?
Yeah.
Why? And I think over the past couple of years, there's been a change to not really why anymore in these boardrooms, but how. Like, how do we approach?
Yeah.
How do we get this done?
Yep.
So I think that
Yep.
shift once again speaks to leaders like yourself on the front lines, making sure that we push policy and lead with data and research and
Yes.
high quality disaggregated demographic data that speaks to these issues.
Yes.
So once again, I applaud all that you're doing. So my next question is, do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work you'd like to amplify to our community of practice?
Certainly. And it's speaking to what you just mentioned in terms of data, like my key priorities are to reduce disparities that are within the justice system. And so when we're looking at all aspects of the justice system, this includes policing, courts, corrections. So reducing those disparities that we see within arrests, reducing those disparities that we see within sentencing, reducing those disparities that we see in the experiences of Black and Indigenous peoples in our justice system, who we know now are disproportionately represented in our correctional system. So what that also entails is educating folks who work within these systems to understand our history, to understand how our history influences the life trajectory and experiences of Black and Indigenous people. So it is a key priority to reduce those disparities through education and understanding what that looks like, and ways to develop meaningful policies to mitigate the disparities that we continue to see in our system.
Sure. So my second last question, what is your ultimate goal and what does success look like and feel like to you and your colleagues?
That's a great question. And I'm sure it's too broad to say, my goal is equity within the experiences and those who, may go through the system. And I think the best way for me to frame it is that one of the studies that I have done and continue to do is to understand the experiences of a racially diverse set of peoples and their experiences, whether that be within policing, courts, or corrections. And that includes white people. And what I find quite often is that their experiences differ greatly from those of racialized peoples, and they will at times, white peoples will feel supported by the system, will feel that they were treated with fairness and equity, and feel that their needs are being heard and their voices are being heard. And I want that for all. I really do. I think that's important. So for me, success will look like when I have these interviews with a racially diverse sample of peoples, that I hear the same, stories of support and being treated with fairness from all. So that's what success looks like to me when it comes to experiences within the criminal justice system.
That's a beautiful sentiment. Thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that. So my last question,
Thanks.
do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for our listeners and our viewers?
Absolutely. And I will continue to speak to this, is that data is key, research is key. For us to understand the extent and level of disparity in our justice system, we need to have that data. It can't be hidden. It needs to be put at the forefront. But data also requires context. So therefore, understanding the experiences and perspectives of those within the system, as well as practitioners, inside the system as well, will only provide a more fulsome picture of what our justice system is about. And I'm hopeful that in Canada we can lead to an equitable system, and research and data will lead to that. That really is our our path forward.
Thank you so much, Kanika, for your visionary leadership, your candor, and all that you're doing for so many. Your work is truly remarkable. And once again, I just give thanks for all that you do. And as always at CETSI, we close the way we began this interview, this conversation, by giving thanks to the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassionate compensation. We give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thank you so much, fam. I appreciate you.
Thank you.